Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Quant Network, aka QNT, so let's just dive in. And let's start off with the overall price chart real quick. So first off, I want to say that yes, I have been ignoring QNT for a little bit of time on this channel. I do apologize. It's not because I want to or anything like that. It's just that there was so much other news to report on. But I will say this around QNT, as we really do look at what has happened in the last couple weeks. Yes, there's been a lot of bearish things happening, but also very bullish things happening as well. Recently, there was a major hack. I'll talk about that as well. But mainly, I'm still looking for lower price action. I will address that as well, and also talk about why QNT is far from being done or being finished or being dead or any of that stuff, because I've been seeing a lot of people asking about, is QNT done? Why am I not talking about QNT? And I just want you all to understand also that if there's ever a time where I go dark on a token, where I don't talk about a token, it's not because I sold or because I think that the project's dead or anything like that. It could very well just be as simple as the fact that there's just so much happening around this market, as it is moving 24/7, 365 constantly. So with that, I do apologize for anybody out there that did think that like maybe I moved on from QNT or something like that. But with all that in mind, let's take a look at a few things. So one, I do want to go check out the holders. So we are sitting at about 127,000 holders. This is still on an uptrend, which is great to see. In terms of what has happened recently to push the price down, yes, there was a hack. Everyone is probably all aware of it by now, but 140,000 QNT valued at about $16.8 million was market sold in a span of a few hours due to the BitTrue official hack. And we do see after a quick drop in price, it's now almost back to pre-hack levels. You could say whatever you want, but this is one of the strongest projects in the whole crypto industry. And yes, the project is very strong. I will say that. But in terms of price action, I do think that everyone is expecting this thing to break out and just go to, a massive price very quickly. But I want you all to understand that this was one of the first tokens to really kind of show us what we were headed towards around a lot of altcoins. Remember, this thing already did a major move from June to the recent high, which was around the end of, or I should say the middle of October, which was about a 4x, a 4.6x actually on QNT, which again, this was a great move. It was an incredible move, and it was great for those that were accumulating down here. Now, one thing that I've made clear is my levels at which I'm personally very interested in seeing QNT retest or possibly head down to, and that is the $65 to $87 range. Now listen, this is not a guaranteed position. I'm just saying, like, as we look at QNT and as we do see it ranging within this range up here between about $104 to $128, you guys can accumulate wherever you want to. I'm not telling you guys when to exactly buy QNT. I'm just saying that I'm very interested to see if this is going to get retested again, because this is where a lot of demand actually is. And we are also in a demand zone right now. But as you do see, price action has been pretty weak. Listen, we've been fighting against EMAs for a while now. Going back onto the daily, we initially broke down back in February. So this was where a lot of the bearish price action really kind of started to happen. I would argue that it really started to happen once we started to fail the breakout at about $164, which I did mention on the Patreon. I was actually talking about this level. A lot of people were asking me if this was QNT breaking out, and I said, no, we need to clear this level first up here in order for us to actually, see any positive price action. We did fail to see that. But once we started to break down below the EMAs, which really kind of started to happen right around this range here, it's been roughly about 50 days since breaking down below them, and we've been trading below them for a while now. Like I said, volume, in terms of volume has been pretty flat. We haven't seen any major buy volume yet, but it tells me that we will most likely see a retest at least of $104 in the short term, which I am expecting, which currently right now from the price action that we are seeing today down to that range, this is about roughly a 12% drop on QNT, which again isn't too crazy. But Are you going to wait for this price action down here, or are you just going to start to accumulate now? It's totally up to you on what you want to do personally. But I am looking at a possible retest of about $87. I'm really kind of looking at it very similar to what we've seen back here in August before we had that tap of $87, which was a perfect level of interest for anybody out there that wanted to buy. This was great during this time here. But also, I was looking around the same ranges, like basically the March of 2022 as well, where we were kind of fighting back here, these same EMAs that we're trading under right now currently. And then we had that strong rejection. Now, I'm not expecting a massive rejection like this, but I do think that we could possibly see some nice lower price action down here within the short term. But hey, I would love to be wrong. It's just the fact that like the Bitcoin price chart for QNT has been pretty weak, which we've been addressing and talking about. On the 3-day span, you can also see a little bit more of a better picture on QNT. So here you have the hack that happened on the 3-day span, and you can see where we are currently right now. Again, this is in a downtrend formation, and it's still fighting and it's showing weakness against those EMAs. So it's questionable on what's going to happen. I would argue that, first off, we need to see a clean break above $128 in order to get a little bit excited on QNT's price action. But ultimately, I'm still fishing for about $104 on QNT in the short term. So I hope that clarifies the price action on QNT on what I personally see. But don't let this defeat you. Don't let it, change your mind about QNT and think that QNT is dead, because this is short-term price action. Listen. Long term, I still believe that QNT is probably our best chance at a Bitcoin-like token. A lot of people think I'm crazy for saying that, but when you actually look at the tokenomics behind Quant and you look at the overall fundamentals behind Quant, I do strongly believe that this could very well rally to Bitcoin-like numbers and even surpass Bitcoin in market cap once things are fully set up around crypto. And yes, that's going to take a little bit of time. It's not going to happen overnight, but tokenomic wise, this is probably one of the best projects for not only tokenomics but also fundamentals. But again, that's why I do hope for lower price action on QNT so that we can buy it a lot more, because again, like long term, the facts are facts. We know what Quant is becoming. And when you actually look at what's happening around Quant, it goes all the way back to 2021 when we first initially seen a lot of these articles coming out. The summer of 2021 was incredible to talk about Quant. We were talking about Quant all during 2021, basically. I should say not all of, but like the beginning of the summer, and then all throughout 2021 and 2022. And even now in 2023, we are still talking about QNT because it does demand a lot of attention because of what it does do. And when you see Quant Network, the operating system for the new financial system, and as we do look at what's happening around the financial system today, and as we do look at DLTs, crypto assets, and so many other major projects happening around crypto, I do believe that the next fundamental shift to happen around the financial system is ushering in digital assets, DLT technology, CBDCs, if you will, which again, you guys know my idea on CBDCs. I don't like them, but hey, if we can't beat them and they are going to be inevitable, then why not invest in the technology that is helping them, basically become a reality, which I do believe that Quant is doing so. But as we do look at what's happening around the legacy financial system, we know a major change is happening, and it does demand interoperability. Interoperability is crucial, as we do see here by Eric over on Medium. And as we do look at what's happening around the world, we are seeing an increase in CBDC and digital asset initiatives as well as adoption. They are researching quite a bit. They are doing trial runs, and we already know what happens next. So yeah, we are definitely looking at CBDCs, and it's definitely a when, not if scenario. We have been watching a few things develop and unfold around CBDCs. I think that today, more than ever, as we do look at the US financial system, the banks, how weak the banks are, I do think that they're going to utilize a lot of what we are seeing around the banking sector to usher in CBDCs and push the CBDC narrative, which we will most likely get them. And then at that point in time, yes, technology like Quant will shine the brightest, because this is allowing things to really become a reality around CBDCs and so forth. So this has not changed at all. And remember, ISO TC 307, which is founded by Gilbert Verdian himself, who is the founder of Quant, or I should say he helped found the blockchain ISO TC 307 standard. This has already been connected to 60 plus countries. I think today it's even more. And also you can see all of the major companies tied to this in terms of the committee or the organizations that are tied to the committee. And, this is allowing for DLT to be fully adopted in. This is the standard at which DLT will be utilized in 60 plus countries. And we already see a lot of initiatives being created around this. I do think that going forward on in time, Quant should 100%, I have zero doubt about this, by the way. I strongly believe that Quant should be in everyone's portfolio because I believe that this will be a 4, 5, 6+ digit token in time. It all depends on how long you are willing to wait. Like I said, with Bitcoin, how long did it take for Bitcoin to go to $10,000? And how long is it taking it for it to go to $100,000? So it's gonna take time. You can't expect to get rich off of Q&T overnight, the same way that people did not get rich overnight on Bitcoin. I've talked about this so many times on this channel that during this entire time back here, going all the way back to 2010 on Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was trading at 7.5 cents, most people we're probably saying, it's probably never going to $1. It's probably never going to $10. It's probably never going to $100. And during all of 2011, 2012, 2013, basically, this thing did start to do drastic increases in price. Like here's $100 all the way to about like $300 and then $1,000 in 2013. So it took roughly, 3-4 years for it to hit $1,000. Okay. As we do look at Q&T, yes, Q&T has been around for a while, going all the way back here to 2018. It's been around for about 5 years. Now, back here, it was at 25 cents. So far, it has hit roughly about $400. Now, yes, granted, Q&T is not Bitcoin. It's not going to perform the same exact way. It's not going to do the same exact pattern move. But I do believe that as we do look at the overall price chart for Quant, and as we do look at the fundamentals, like I said, it's allowing for a lot of DLTs and crypto to actually thrive and become a reality. Like if you do believe in crypto and you believe that crypto will become a fundamental piece of the financial system, as well as be massively adopted and be utilized by almost every single major bank and et cetera, then guess what? You 100% believe in Quant, which is why I say you should have Quant in your portfolio if you are a crypto maxi. But around Quant and around Bitcoin, you look at the fundamentals, you look at the supply ratio on Bitcoin to Quant, and Quant has 33% less supply than Bitcoin. It has far more fundamental reach than Bitcoin. And as we do look at what's happening around this industry, as we do look at the evolution of financial, we'll say mechanisms and use cases and utility, etc. I do strongly believe that Quant will become a fundamental piece of the pie for the new financial system, and it will allow tokens like XRP and HBAR and XLM and etc. to really thrive and meet their full potential without true interoperability between the legacy system and the digital systems that we know of today. Guess what? You're not going to see your tokens reach their full valuations. You're not going to see them reach their full potential. So Quant is allowing that to happen, especially through TC 307. Like I said, I connect the 60 plus countries already. The fundamentals are still going to be there every single day, every single night, 24/7, 365 days of the year. The fundamentals will be there. Price action. Listen, price action does not gauge fundamentals. Price action does not gauge the success of tokens unless something goes to zero, if you will. But, for the most part, Q&T could still tomorrow do something where it comes back down to, $65. And when it hits down here, most people will be screaming Q&T is going to zero, that it was a big scam, this, that, whatever, just for it to rebound back up and continue to go all the way to $1,000 plus. But that's if we do come down here. This is not a guarantee, but I'm just saying if we do, it doesn't mean that Q&T is dead. It doesn't mean that the fundamentals aren't there. It just means that, hey, that's what market makers wanted. They wanted the price action to be down here. Price is, again, as we do look at the perspective around this market, most people will look at price and say, price 100% matters for the success of a project. But when you're talking about utility gems, you're talking about utility projects like Quant, where we already know what's in place, we already know what's happening, we already know everything about the project, all of that still remains. It's just, hey, is price action going to come back down to these levels, retest this, and then have that major run up? it's very well possible. Anything is possible in this space. But also, guess what? On the contrary to, you know, $65 or even $87 being tested, we could also come back down, test this range down here at about $104 and have that significant bounce and, you know, just have higher continuation from there as well. That's exactly why we average in. We average in on the most bearish times in the market. We, you know, average in on the major FUD. And we also have levels that we feel confident to average in on. I don't want to say like, hey, just average in on every single major drop in the market, because guess what? You would have been averaging in back here, you would have been averaging here, and also down here. So that would have been 4 times that you averaged it in back there. And again, like I'm just saying, like, it's not always the best practice to average in constantly. You want to wait for support to form. You want to wait for the trend to stop, and then average in. Over here, it looks like this trend is kind of just in continuation in terms of a downtrend. Yes, this will eventually break, but we have to wait for it to actually kind of stop, stabilize, and form a support zone. So far, I'm not really seeing any major support here, but I would love to be wrong. But with all of that in mind, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on. If you guys have more free content, you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all. Have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are in this before. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.